Hi everybody, welcome to Saturdays with Stephanie. I wanted to take a time out from our journey through the Catechism. I know we're almost done, we're in the home stretch. We only have a couple more sessions before we actually complete all of our study of the Catechism. But today is pretty significant and I wanted to recognize that in this video. 1 year ago today was the day that our congregation made the decision to close its doors and not meet in person for a time period. It started out on March 13th, 2020, where we told everyone we're going to close down for 2 weeks and reopen again once it's safe to do so. And we didn't open again until June 7th. Obviously, it ended up being a much longer time period than we had anticipated. And we were fortunate in this country to be able to open as quickly as we did. Many other places in the country had to wait much longer based on infection rates or government protocols or a number of other things. But really, the weekend of March 13th, 14th, 15th last year, I think, was the weekend that everyone started realizing just how big of a deal this pandemic really was and still is. So I just wanted to take a moment today to acknowledge that. I think it's important to recognize these anniversaries, to recognize the things that have happened, to look back on the last year and all that we have learned and experienced and lost and gained from this time period. I know for me personally, there's been a whole lot of growth, a lot of learning. Anyone else out there, can you raise your hand if you have learned some new skills? Maybe you had never done a Zoom meeting before. I'm guessing that's no longer true for most of you out there. Maybe you had never watched a video on YouTube. For those of us over a certain age, YouTube was not really a thing for us to be involved in watching. Quite honestly, there's probably some under a certain age too that don't necessarily watch it anymore. I think they've all shifted over to TikTok. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. I haven't even attempted to delve into it. But so many things are different now. For example, prior to this date last year, the only videos we posted on our church page, on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that, for the most part, were just recordings of the sermons that were taken on Sunday morning during the in-person worship service and then posted sometime in the next couple of days. We approached our way of serving the world digitally in a very different way a year ago. Our sermons were posted to podcast and YouTube and Facebook. I took the time and the financial resources to have them transcribed so that we could have closed captioning on them. And that was basically our digital video presence on the internet. That was it. In the last year, we have actually recorded and edited and posted almost 400 videos. Almost 400. In fact, Tuesday, in just 3 days' time, it'll be the 400th video that is going to drop with our devotion that evening. So as of today, this is video number 396 that we have posted to Facebook and YouTube. And that's not including the sermons that we continue to post. We have let go of doing the closed captioning on the sermons. Part of that was a decision for time and financial resource reasons. I did not have the time to go through and transcribe it myself, and we wanted to save a little bit of money where we could. And in looking at how many people were making use of those sermons once we started posting full worship services, it was 1 or 2 people a week were watching the sermons by themselves. And we didn't feel like it was worth putting those energies and resources into those videos any longer. So if that has affected you personally, I apologize for that. It was a decision that was not made lightly, but we had to make the best decision we could to serve the most people that we could. Also knowing that we were not the only church out there that could be serving others, and that other churches were going to be able to serve better with things like closed captioning for those who need it. So if that's something that you need and you would like me to send you some links, I'd be happy to do the research and find that for you and let you know what churches are really doing that well. I'd be happy to, so reach out, absolutely. So that's part of what my past year has been. Oh, and by the way, those almost 400 videos at this point, that doesn't include funerals. And I wanted to take a minute to touch on that. Our church has had more funerals in the past 12 months than any other 12-month period that I can remember. And by and large, those funerals were not due to COVID. It's been a really hard year. For me personally, my grandfather passed away. He had been sick for a long time, but it was hard for my family. It was hard for us to gather to have a funeral. We just had the graveside service for him because it was the only safe way to gather. We lost a staff member here at church, a beloved one. You may have seen the funeral on this feed. We lost some members along the way too, for various reasons. Many of you out there have lost family members, whether it was COVID or cancer or a car accident or any other number of ways. It's just been a hard year. And that's the human losses that we grieve. Those are the easiest ones for us to remember to grieve, right? But there's a lot more to grieve from the past 12 months. We've lost relationships. I think that's part of why people get so frustrated with the shutdowns that have happened, with the mandates that have come through. It's because of the lost relationships. It's so hard. We moved into our house just a few months before COVID, and we had big dreams of inviting our neighbors over and having lots of dinners and parties and bringing the congregation in and all kinds of things for this house. I think we were able to have maybe one gathering before COVID. We had some friends over for a Super Bowl party. And since then, we haven't been able to do much. Oh, I'm sorry, we had 2. We had one gathering right after we moved in for a friend who was moving away, and we had him and his family and a few other people over for kind of a going away dinner. But we haven't been able to do much since then. We've had meals with our little bubble, which includes our coworker and her family, because we're basically working together every day. But we haven't been able to have the kinds of gatherings we had dreamed of for this house, and we grieve that. We haven't been able to get to know our neighbors the way that we wanted to moving into this new neighborhood, and we grieve that. We grieve all of the losses of travel and time with family, all of the missed opportunities from this past year. We grieve some lost ministries at our church. Up until this past 12 months, 3 days a week, we had a thriving lunch for seniors that was happening at our church. And it was through the local county's nutrition program for seniors. And that county program has since shut down. They've shifted everything to Meals on Wheels, entirely appropriate in a pandemic, that the most at-risk population should be served to cover their nutritional needs in their homes. But we miss seeing the people. We've had a long-term relationship with our local YMCA for sports events in our gym, volleyball and basketball. And it's been very odd to have silence coming from that wing of the building in the evenings when we happen to be at church, which isn't very often anymore. We haven't had a lot of meetings. I can't say that I really grieve that. In fact, that might be one of the good things that has come out of the last year, is realizing what meetings are necessary and what can be replaced with something else. We managed to hold a Zoom meeting for our voters this winter, right before Christmas, in order to take care of all of the end of the year stuff that just has to happen with electing new officers and approving the budget and all of those kinds of things. It was pretty amazing how smoothly that worked out. But it's hard to not see the people at church. And then just a few weeks ago, we had this crazy deep freeze in Texas. And if you've been watching our videos, you know that we sustained some pretty major damage to our building. Pipes on both ends of the building froze and burst, and we had quite a bit of water damage. And so we grieve those things as well. It's interesting to walk into the building now and to step on scraped concrete floors instead of the nice looking laminate wood floors that we had in our lobby, or to not see the carpet down the hallways, those kinds of things. It's very strange. And today I walked in and drywall has been taken off of certain areas too, to begin the process of drying the building and replacing everything. It's hard. We grieve a lot. But there's also things that I'm incredibly thankful for along the way. I have learned so much about navigating digital spaces that I never would have done otherwise. I've learned so much about video editing. Guys, if I hadn't been forced into it, I don't think I ever would have learned these skills. And I'm so thankful for it, because I know they will serve me and you and the greater church and so many others for a long time to come. I'm so thankful that we bought a camera that works well for all of these videos long before the pandemic happened, because if we had had to purchase equipment when it started, I'm not sure we would have been able to get a hold of any. You remember what it was like. I mean, for crying out loud, we couldn't get toilet paper for a time, let alone any sort of digital equipment necessary to do this kind of thing. I'm thankful for time to walk and appreciate nature. I spent most of last spring trying to walk every single day, and we have a great neighborhood for that with sidewalks, which is unusual in our area, and a great park really close by that I spent a lot of time walking in. I don't do it as much as I did, and I need to get better into that habit again. In fact, I'm hoping to get a walk in today. But for all of this, God has been in the midst of it, hasn't he? Because the thing is, prior to the pandemic, our congregation, Christ Lutheran Church, we had the capacity to reach people who were willing to drive to our location, South Fort Worth. And that was about it. Maybe some people who were within walking distance, if we happened to get to know them, if they happened to stop by. But that was basically our capacity. And because of all of the changes that have happened over the past year, our ability to reach people has expanded so dramatically, and it's really exciting. I've been spending some time in recent weeks, have been going through videos from an online conference and learning a whole lot about all of the things that we can do to grow our digital presence while continuing to make our in-person presence also be a vibrant light to our community, and to realize that both are needed for the world. And it's pretty exciting stuff. You're going to be seeing more and more of it, those things coming forward as they are ready. And I don't want to necessarily get too much going on any of it before it's ready to go. But we're working on rebuilding our website to make it more user-friendly and more mobile-friendly. We're working on a number of other options for reaching people, for engaging with people, for connecting with people. And it's really exciting. And so I hope that you will continue to join us on this journey. I thank you so much for just being there with us, for walking alongside us in this time. I pray that these videos have been a blessing to you. Maybe it's been the devotional ones 5 nights a week. Maybe it's been these Saturday nights hanging out with me, or Sunday morning worship, having that available to you. Whenever you happen to worship, maybe it's not even Sundays. Maybe Sundays aren't a great day for you. And now with us having online worship available anytime, you can worship on a Tuesday or a Friday or at 3 in the morning on Thursday. Whatever works for you, you can worship. And I'm really thankful for that. And I hope those things are a blessing to you. Please let us know what things are a blessing. Maybe, stick a comment underneath this video and just let us know what your favorite thing from this past year has been. What has been the most beneficial to you? What things you're celebrating, what things you're thankful for. You can also share what things you're grieving, because we're here with you and we grieve together. And that is part of being community, is rejoicing and grieving with each other. So thanks so much for joining me tonight. We're going to continue with the Lord's Prayer next week and finish it up, I believe, the following week. So please stay tuned. Thank you, and have a great night. Bye.